You enter relationships expecting steady loyalty and consistent warmth. You believe love stays the same no matter what changes around you. Then you start noticing something different. One moment, she feels close and engaged. Next moment, her tone shifts. Her energy drops. Her attention feels distant, even while she is still present. You sit there trying to understand what changed, but nothing obvious stands out. That confusion keeps you thinking harder, adjusting your behavior, increasing your effort, hoping things return to how they were at the beginning. You feel the pressure build inside you, because when her response changes, you assume you did something wrong. So you try to fix yourself. You give more attention. You stay more available. You try to prove consistency through effort. Then something strange happens. The more you give, the more the emotional balance shifts instead of stabilizing. The warmth you expected starts feeling less predictable. The connection starts feeling conditional instead of steady. You notice small things first, slower replies, less excitement in conversations, shorter engagement when you speak, a subtle emotional distance that was not there before. You replay earlier moments in your mind. The beginning felt different. Attention felt natural. Energy felt mutual. Now everything feels measured. You start asking silent questions inside your head. Why does emotional tone change when your effort stays the same? Why does consistency not guarantee the same response it used to? You sit alone and check your phone again. Messages feel different now. Not cold enough to confirm anything obvious, but not warm enough to feel secure. That in-between space creates tension inside you. You try to explain it to yourself. You think maybe she is busy, maybe stress, maybe external factors. But the pattern repeats across different moments, not just one situation. You start noticing something important. Emotional response does not stay fixed. It moves depending on conditions around the interaction. When attention increases, warmth increases. When attention drops, distance appears. When stability feels strong, connection feels strong. When consistency shifts, emotional tone shifts. You begin to see a pattern forming underneath what once felt random. Emotional behavior follows context more than promise. You remember moments where everything felt perfect, simply because conditions aligned. Then you remember moments where nothing seemed wrong, yet emotional distance still appeared. That contrast starts changing how you interpret relationships. You stop seeing every shift as personal failure. You start seeing it as response to changing conditions inside the dynamic. You notice another pattern. When you give heavily without pause, emotional response eventually stops increasing at the same rate. It levels out. What once felt exciting becomes expected. What once felt special becomes normal. That creates imbalance. One side keeps increasing effort. The other side adjusts response based on what is already being received. You feel that imbalance without needing anyone to explain it. It shows up in tone, in timing, in energy exchange. You start recognizing something uncomfortable. Emotional consistency is not always constant. It reacts to structure, environment, and perceived stability. This realization creates a shift inside you. You stop reacting instantly to every emotional change. You begin watching patterns instead of chasing reassurance. You sit in silence one night and replay everything. The beginning, the middle, the recent shifts. You notice a clear difference in emotional rhythm across time. Nothing dramatic changed in one moment. Small, repeated adjustments shaped everything gradually. That understanding creates awareness. You stop assuming emotional behavior is random. You start seeing structure behind it. Then, a deeper thought appears. If emotional response follows conditions, then understanding those conditions becomes more important than reacting to every emotional shift. That thought changes how you view the entire dynamic moving forward. You stop reacting to every emotional shift like before. You start watching patterns instead of chasing answers. And now something deeper starts forming inside your mind. If emotional response follows conditions, and your input inside that system matters more than you ever realized, you sit with that idea and replay recent moments. You think about how your presence affects the tone of conversations. You think about how your attention changes behavior over time. At first, you believed giving more would stabilize everything. More messages, more effort, more availability. You assumed consistency from you would create consistency from her. But experience starts showing a different reality. When your attention flows constantly without pause, the response becomes predictable. When it becomes predictable, emotional intensity starts dropping without warning. You sit on your phone, looking at past chats. Early conversations felt different. Faster replies, more energy, more engagement. Now the rhythm feels slower, more measured, less emotionally charged. You did not notice the shift while it was happening. It happened gradually through repetition. That realization creates discomfort, because now you see something you ignored before. Attention that is always available loses impact over time. You send a message and wait. You notice how quickly expectation builds when you have already trained constant availability. Even a short delay feels noticeable. Then something changes when you step back slightly. You focus on your own space. You stop reacting instantly. You give space where there used to be constant presence. You notice more awareness from her side, more checking in, slight curiosity in tone. Not because you did something dramatic, but because your presence is no longer fully predictable. That is when understanding deepens. Your attention was never just communication. It shaped emotional response. You sit quietly and think about it. Every reply, every call, every moment of availability was not neutral. It influenced how the connection felt over time. Then another layer appears. When attention becomes rare, it becomes noticeable again. When it is constant, it fades into background expectation. You feel that truth in your own experience before anyone explains it to you. Now your focus shifts, not toward playing games, not toward withdrawing for reaction, but toward understanding balance. You start noticing when you give too much without space. You notice when your presence becomes automatic instead of intentional. You notice when your energy is flowing without return. And slowly you begin adjusting without forcing anything. Less reaction, more observation, less impulse, more awareness. You are no longer trying to prove value through attention. You are learning how attention affects value inside interaction. And that changes how you carry yourself inside relationships. Because now you see clearly. Your attention is not background behavior. It is influence inside emotional dynamics. And once you see that, you stop giving it without awareness. You stop reacting from impulse. You stop overextending your presence. You stop confusing constant availability with emotional security. You begin to understand something simple but powerful. Respect inside relationships starts with how you manage your attention, your reactions, and your presence. When attention is uncontrolled, it loses value. When it is intentional, it creates weight. When it is balanced, it creates clarity. You no longer measure connection by how often you show up. You measure it by how it responds when you do. That shift ends confusion, because now you are not guessing anymore. You are observing. And when a man reaches this level of awareness, emotional chaos loses its grip. The guessing stops. The overthinking slows down. The need to chase disappears. You are no longer inside the pattern. You are watching it. That is where control begins.